Welcome to NFL Daily Kids in Charge episode, and nobody in this space has to worry about their availability for Monday's USA-Belgium World Cup match. I'm Jourdan Rodrigue, filling in for our great host, Gregg Rosenthal. This week, he's on vacation in Japan, and I'm joined by the great Nick Shook, who did an awesome job with our pal Patrick Claybon and filling in a couple weeks ago on co-host duties. Shook, how are you? What's going on?
I'm fantastic. I forgot that we had that intro music because it's been a while since the kids were in charge.
The kids.
But we're back.
Yes.
You and I are back. And as the children all cheered, yay, here we go.
I know. I love it. Are you going to be watching the World Cup? I mean, are you keeping up with the World Cup? What have you kind of been up to on your break?
I have watched more soccer this year than maybe ever. I think part of it's because it's very cool to see it in all these football stadiums across the United States and across North America. And you had some in Canada and Mexico as well. It felt like a good showcase of the lavish spending our nation does on sports facilities, but they're being put to good use. And the soccer has been electric. And of course, Team USA, the men's national team, their involvement in it has driven it as well. So I will be watching tonight. I don't know exactly. I know there's an invitation in my lap to go watch with some people. I don't know if I'll join them in considering it, but I will be watching.
Yeah, it's been a really good tournament. Now, I'm not super up to speed on the world of football, right? But I really enjoy good sporting events, and this one's been fantastic. I can't remember something that's had us sort of enthralled match to match like this. I mean, I know obviously when these massive sort of global invitational tournaments happen, we all do pay attention, but this one is just, every match is so riveting. I find myself standing for most of it, which is not, it's not like me. I'm a cushy press box writer. I'm a press box princess, right? So I usually am just sitting down the whole time, and I love it. I think it's been awesome. I've been on vacation for a few weeks now. I went into my little athletic portal that we have and saw how many vacation hours I had amassed because I never take vacation. And I've just been trying to take a break. I went up to Ojai for a little bit. That was really, really nice. Did some hiking and just sort of trying to reset before what we know will be a really, really fun season. So I hope you've gotten some time to take a little bit of a break as well, Shook.
Yeah. I took a couple of weeks ago, I took a week off, which was magnificent. The short week with the holiday last week, just having 4 days off was fantastic. And I have one more week ahead to take off. So I'm looking forward to that as well. And you know what? The reset is necessary. It's nice because in this slow news period, it's nice to just kind of unplug from everything, and especially the football world. I think there was a whole week when I was off that whole week. I don't think I talked about, well, that's a lie. I definitely talked about football to people that I know, but I was just like, wow, that was a nice little change of pace, a nice little reset, refresh. And we're going to do a little bit more of that before training camp arrives because it's right around the corner.
I know. I love it. I'm stocking up on sunscreen kind of as we speak. Speaking of not being able to quit football or just totally turn it off, we do have a segment coming up at the end of today's show where we are basically sharing with the listener Gregg Rosenthal's inner vacation monologue that we know undoubtedly and with just pure facts that he's having. Even though he's in Japan, we know he can't shut off the football. But first, we have some news to catch up on. Unfortunately, a lot of it is sad news, Shook. So we're going to talk about the sad and scary and just really unfortunate stuff first. And then we're going to get to a couple of nice things that have happened in the news recently. I want to start with the news of Chris Johnson's ALS diagnosis. So, we are catching up on all of this. Obviously, there was a break of pre-recorded shows, so that's why you didn't hear us talk about this. A really horrible situation on NFL Daily last week. We're going to get into it today. Former Titans and Cardinals star running back Chris Johnson, of course, announced on Good Morning America that he has been diagnosed with ALS. And in itself, it's incredibly heartbreaking news for him, for his family, for his friends and loved ones. In his interview with Michael Strand, where he could only speak using a speech-generating machine activated by his eyes, Chris Johnson did reveal that he got diagnosed with the disease at 39. He is 40 now. And it's progressed really rapidly. A lot of us, because Chris Johnson, when he retired, I believe it was in 2017, he's been sort of out of the spotlight and taking time, spending time with his family. We remember him as such an electric, incredible, every time the ball was in his hands, something magical was going to happen from scrimmage type of player. He was a 1,000-yard rusher for each of his first 6 NFL seasons. 2009, he set the NFL scrimmage yards record with 2,509 and got the nickname CJ2K. This is just really, really sad, Shook.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a shock to me because I think nobody really knew about it before, and to see how quickly it had progressed. The first thing you think of is Steve Gleason, another former football player who has dealt with it and has made his battle very public in efforts to fund research and garner support for those dealing with it. But I think this one hit even harder just because of the type of player that Chris Johnson was. I mean, he was an incredibly explosive, like appointment viewing type of player. Like the Titans were on TV, that you're going to want to watch because Chris Johnson might rip off a long run. Like he was the guy, the speedster, hell of a back out of East Carolina who really just put together quite a career that, included almost 10,000 rushing yards. You had the CJ2K year. Really at his best, he was the reason that you really wanted to watch Tennessee play football. I think back to when they were doing the AFL anniversary and they had those old Oilers uniforms on and just watching him run through defenses and that. And just it was a great time, I think, for running backs especially, but he was one of the faces. That was like when I was in high school going into college, and he was one of the guys that you definitely wanted to watch. And it's just so, sad. It's just nothing more than sad that he has to deal with this disease. And good on him for having the courage to participate in that interview, and good on them to also, I mean, it's a very minor victory, but being able to record his voice so that he could still speak in his own voice with this, software and everything that they're using. But man, it's just it's another reminder of how difficult, things can be when you're stricken by such a disease. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Marshawn Lynch for reviving the Ice Bucket Challenge, or helping revive the Ice Bucket Challenge with Chris Johnson. It's nice to see that people come out and support him, and just really unfortunate that he's dealing with that.
Yeah. And as we sit here and talk about that, this morning or this early afternoon, your time, Shook, that Ice Bucket Challenge is starting to resurface and spread a little bit more as people show their support for Chris Johnson. First and foremost, our thoughts are obviously with Chris Johnson and his wife, Brittany, who was by his side during the interview, who has been by his side as he discussed, and obviously their children, their family, their extended family, their friends. Our hearts really go out to them. And I want to say too, all of this has also reignited the very important discussion over potential links between ALS and tackle football, between ALS and professional football, traumatic contact sports such as football. The 2021 study by the American Medical Association found that professional football players are 4 times more likely to develop the disease, sharing this because of awareness and to make sure that research is ongoing, new treatment studies are ongoing in trying to find help for people who are stricken by this. And Chris Johnson talked a little bit about some of the treatments that he is undergoing, and said in that interview that people sometimes look at the physical disability and assume you're not still the same person inside. He said, "I still think the same. I still dream. I still love my family. My body just doesn't cooperate." And also that he has chosen to fight, quote, this terrible disease. And, the courage is incredible. The situation is just extreme. It's just extremely sad. And, hope for more awareness, hope for a treatment that brings positive progress, and hope for a cure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think back to my own personal experiences, because you always want to try to find a way to relate to something as unfortunate as this. And my late grandfather, he'd had a stroke when he was in his 50s and was paralyzed on the right side of his body for the rest of his life. But he was, much like Chris Johnson saying, he was still the same person inside. So was mine. He just couldn't, do a lot of the things that he was capable of doing before. And I think that's a good reminder, is that when you see people battling these things, it's obviously easy to get an immediate, reaction and saying, well, wow, they've been physically reduced to, being in a wheelchair and needing these types of assistance. But let's not forget that they are still the same person inside, and that he's, been one heck of a person and was one heck of a football player during his NFL career.
Well said. More sad news. We are catching up on this. This also is one that I think kicks people right in the gut, knowing the quality and caliber of person, of teammate, of figurehead in the NFL that Calais Campbell has been. Just to update people on the news, longtime NFL Ironman, Walter Payton Man of the Year, Calais Campbell. His brother was charged last week in Atlanta with murder after the death of their mother. I believe the pronunciation of her name is Natale Campbell. Just an awful situation. The family, of course, has asked for privacy at this time. He's currently signed with the Baltimore Ravens. They did release a statement that says, "We are incredibly saddened to learn about the passing of Calais Campbell's mother. We extend our deepest condolences and full support to Calais and his family during this difficult time. We ask that everyone please respect their privacy while they grieve from this heartbreaking loss." And, just a really sad and unfolding situation all around. Another legal update wanted to update the news listeners on. Brief Terrion Arnold update. He was released by the Detroit Lions last week. He's still awaiting trial and has posted bail on kidnapping and robbery charges. There is no good transition out of just a real load of unfortunate catching up to do, but this story did make me smile, Shook. This is regarding DJ Moore, a player of whom I am a huge fan of. According to a Buffalo local news station, it's WKBW, DJ Moore bought out all of the t-shirt jerseys featuring his name in a store in a local mall in Buffalo and is giving them away to fans. Of course, DJ Moore was traded to Buffalo from Chicago last season. My favorite detail about this is the touch that the store put on it. They simply marked the price of the shirts as $0 and put a note by them that said the shirt was paid for by DJ Moore. I just thought it was a very not surprising, but sort of spur of the moment serendipitous gesture that he made. I just thought that was fun. I just love stories like that.
I mean, how do you curry good favor in your new town better than
Free
gifting everybody t-shirt jerseys of yourself? I mean, there's no better way to get your number in the stands than by buying the stock out at a mall, and also support a mall, because as we know, malls in America are not as prosperous and popular and productive as they once were. So, helping out their business, that helps too. I mean, it's immediately makes you a fan favorite. It wins you over. And you're also going to look up in the stands and see a bunch of your number in the stands because, oh yeah, you happen to pay for it. It's a good way to start off a tenure in Buffalo. High expectations there as always. And he's going to be a key part of, their big Super Bowl hopes as they try to make yet another run and hopefully clear that final hurdle. So smart move, good PR, good job, DJ Moore.
I know. I thought it was very endearing. That's really no different than how many of his years were in Carolina too. That fan base, the Panthers fan base, really loved him before he went to Chicago. I just feel like I love a city that notices when its athletes or famous figures, otherwise famous figures, like do stuff like that. Like, I mean, it wasn't like, if this news station hadn't walked in, sounds like if they hadn't walked into the store and seen it, then they probably wouldn't have. This wasn't like a PR memo sent out.
Yeah, but let's think about it though. Somebody would walk in there and see $0. This shirt was paid for by DJ Moore, posted to social media. It would have spread. For
sure. I'm just saying they didn't send out like a press release. Like we didn't get like a Matthew Stafford Immortal Chamber press release on this or anything like that. I like when stuff like this happens, that feels organic, that feels unplanned. That a fan base can really endear themselves to a player, or vice versa, a player can really endear himself to the fan base for. I just like it. I hope that it brought some joy to some of the Buffalo fans' lives as they wait very, very excitedly for the opening of that new stadium up there. Mm-hmm. It's just fun. Yeah. I mean, you want some good energy and like some good vibes going into a season where, once again, the main questions we will be asking is, do they finally have what it takes to get over the hump this year? A team that we're not really asking questions like that of, great seg, Jourdan. Rasul Douglas plans to sign a 1-year deal with the Commanders, as reported by our buddy Adam Schefter over at ESPN. The deal is reportedly worth up to $3.8 million. Rasul Douglas is 30. He was signed by the Dolphins as a sort of a late, like post-cuts summer edition last season. Had some injury issues, played in 15 games for them though. And he can be a menace when he wants to. He had some really, really bright moments last season. Week 14 really stands out to me. It was like something like 4 or 5 pass breakups and an interception. And he had AFC Defensive Player of the Week or month or whatever that was honors. If I'm recalling correctly and probably very sloppily, the listeners can let me know on that one. But yeah, he still has some stuff to him. So I think it's like one of those really solid late summer signings, and the Commanders, they need depth everywhere on their defense, and they need a bounce back in a bad way this year.
Yeah, they do need to bounce back given what happened with their season, which largely depended on not only the fact that they lost their starting quarterback, but also that they had, the league's worst defense, or one of the worst defenses. Yeah. Wasn't a good look for Dan Quinn, defensive-minded coach. But yeah, yet another veteran addition on that side of the ball. That's how they spent their entire offseason, by investing. I think they have as many as 6 new projected starters on the defensive side of the ball. Rasul is not necessarily going to slot in as a starter, but he's going to be a quality veteran. He's one of my favorite defensive backs who I think has been underrated throughout the course of his career.
Wow.
At one point, he was a practice squad guy. I think he was a practice squad guy with Arizona or Green Bay, and then ended up with Green Bay. I remember him making a play in Arizona and being like, oh yeah, well, he got a little revenge there. But he's been a guy that, has just been a tireless worker who's contributed in pretty much every stop he's made. Even like Buffalo, he spent 2 years in Buffalo. He had 4 interceptions in total in the 2023 season, then kind of washed out in 2024. Didn't seem to be much of a fit there. But I've always known that this is a guy who is like a quality player. And even at 30 years old, approaching his 31st birthday at the end of August, it seems like that's the right fit, the right pairing as the Commanders try to turn this defense around. You don't do it simply with young guys and young talent. You got to have veterans. They've accrued a bunch of them this offseason, so it makes a ton of sense. Looking forward to see what he does there.
Yeah, it's like what we talk a lot about on this show, about having to bridge that developmental gap and raise the floor of a position group, in this case, an entire unit. Their defense certainly needing attention there. Their coverage, their rush was not great. Their coverage was also just absolutely a factor in letting down their rush when they did have it, and vice versa, honestly. And so I think this is a really solid signing. It kind of reminds me of when, the Los Angeles Rams, they signed like Akella Witherspoon, or when Tony Jefferson joins a team, whether it's the Chargers or the Ravens or elsewhere, where that there's going to be a game where even if he's a depth player, even if he's a rotational figure, there will be a game at some point this season where we are watching him most likely make plays for the Commanders, and certainly admire that he stayed kind of resilient through some of the later stage career injury issues that he's had. I did not realize that he's one of your favorite.
Oh yeah. I get on board with some lesser known guys when I just see them make plays, and especially mercenary guys. And he's always been one of those guys where I'm like, he just happens to be there. He just has an innate sense for, as a ball hawk, like he's just a guy who makes plays on the ball. I know Next Gen has a ball hawk rate. I don't have the number pulled up in front of me right now, but I know that he was always pretty high in that metric. And yeah, I know he's not a household name, and that's fine. I know he's been in a billion different stops, but there's a reason he keeps getting a job. And it's because he's a good football player. Yeah,
smart signing. And meanwhile, all eyes are on, or maybe trying to not be so closely on, another potential Commander signing that seems less and less likely as time passes, and that is of receiver Brandon Ayuk. I know that Gregg has covered this situation that continues to get messier and messier. I know he's already covered this, so we're not going to spend a ton of time on this. We are going to take some time to talk weddings, because you already know I sent you guys a warning in the Google Doc, in the rundown. I sent you a warning. This is news. We are going to talk about it. I love freaking rocks. On Friday, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce were married at Madison Square Garden in New York City, in front of, a tiny amount. No, just kidding. In front of reportedly hundreds, if not 1,000 or more guests, some of whom were NFL stars, current and former teammates of Travis Kelce, current and former coaches. Also, the entire Fox and Amazon broadcast booths and desks, apparently, as well as, of course, like a ton of celebrities and other family and friends and loved ones. I I'm gonna ask for your take on this, Shook. I'm a little cautious about it. You know, you never know when you talk to, men, first of all, but second of all,
I was gonna say white male
sports guys about what your take might be on this. My take is I absolutely I love in every form, and this seemed like it was a lot of joy, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah, what do you think? I'm going to take the typical
do it.
Oh, they should stop pointing the camera at Taylor during the game. Oh, they're ruining football because they're showing Taylor in the booth. Yeah, no, that's so stupid. Like many stupid internet things, that may be the dumbest. No, this is great. I agree. I also love love. I think who doesn't love love? Some people.
Well,
some miserable people don't love love, but I love love, and I'm happy that they were able to do this. I'm just more curious about I want the details. Like. I'm not a guy who watches like reality TV or is like, give me the details of so-and-so's wedding. But this one, I want to know because they chose Madison Square Garden. And if there was perhaps 1,000 people there, that is much less than the listed capacity of Madison Square Garden. And I also want to know, how is the Jumbotron involved? Did they get pyrotechnics involved? I've been to much cheaper weddings that involved pyrotechnics at the reception. So I'd like to know, did they take advantage of what is capable in Madison Square Garden for that? We know a lot of the celebrities that were there. I want to know what the step-by-step experience was. Before the party, afterward. Was there some sort of cool thing on each person's seat? Like, this is obviously no expense was spared, given that they rented out perhaps the world's most famous arena. So I just want to know the details of it, but I'm happy for them. Look, a lot of attention is paid. As the son of a mother who, when we'd be in the grocery store lines as a child, she'd be looking at the gossip magazines and being like, ooh, did you see what Cameron Diaz is doing? And I'm like, I don't care, Mom. Like, I've never cared about that. But I do kind of just want to know a little bit about, the inside details of this stuff. And at the same time, I am happy because with that background, a lot of attention is paid to, celebrity couples and everything else. This seems like legitimate true love. Like the backstory of how they met. It felt like Travis kind of like let down the tough guy football exterior and just let her in. He shot his shot and then let her in and is not afraid to admit it. And anytime that you watch somebody like that transform when they find their person, it just warms my heart. So I'm happy for them.
Yeah, it's well said. I got a little worried when you started a sentence with "as the son of a mother," but you saved it. So that was good stuff there, Shook. My thing is, so I have a lot of friends around my age who are like really, really fascinated by this relationship, have been mega fans of hers. I've been the go-to friend explaining some of the football questions. I've happily been the friend to explain like some of the football related lore, and often in exchange for, I'm not a huge pop culture enthusiast. I get by, but I understand her to have like a ton of lore around her songs, around her entire vibe.
Perhaps too much.
and around like her entire ethos. And I love lore. Like I'm the person who, and maybe this makes me a psychopath, I listen to podcasts that cover TV shows without actually watching the TV show because I just want the lore, right? I just want the breakdown. I want the analysis, right? And so I've been fascinated by this. I just think that for me, one of my good friends took his daughter to a Taylor Swift concert when she was doing the Eras tour, and said that it was the first time, and took her and a group of her friends, was sort of like the chaperone. He said it was the first time he's ever really understood or seen a group of girls, young women, their moms, their dads, just feeling really safe and free and enjoying the space all together. And that really hit me because this is not always a world where that is the case. And so that really hit me. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm in. Whatever it is, I'm in, right? That's, if someone can create an environment like that for people who don't often have that privilege afforded to them, like, then that's great. And I just love I want to know the connection to all the NFL people that we saw. Like, I loved that Mike Florio kind of went down the rabbit hole on Pro Football Talk and was like, invited all the Amazon people, invited all the Fox Sports people, like, does this hint at at Travis Kelce's future in the broadcast booth? And we love talking about the broadcast booth on this show. So I enjoyed that. And I also got to thinking about like weddings in general. I've been to and been in a few of them. Shook, I know you've been to and been in a few of them. I thought, you know what? Neither of us, as far as I'm aware, neither of us are married yet. And so my thing is like, we have that very unique perspective as the guest, as the attendee. What is a rule of etiquette, or what is like a hill you're willing to stand on here as it pertains to weddings?
As far as I'm aware.
As far as I'm aware, unless I missed something.
That's why I showed my hands. Yes. There's no ring here.
As far as I'm aware, I am not married either. So yeah, there you go.
I hope I wasn't signed away for something. All right. So what is this is actually, it's going to sound like a hater, but I have to say this as somebody who's been invited to a November wedding. I think weddings during football season are not great. I understand that there are only so many dates available on the calendar. And I understand that some people are getting married on Sundays or Thursdays because it's cheaper. I think I have a cousin who's getting married on a Sunday during football season. I've already informed them, probably not going to be there because my job involves football on Sundays. And I think that's it right there. The wedding that I'm going to on a Saturday during football season this year is on the biggest college football Saturday as it stands right now of the season. And a couple of my friends that are going as well, we've already agreed that when we're at the reception, we will be bringing chargers for our phones and we will have games on our phones and be able to watch some of it, or at least find a way in one way or another, bar TV, something to watch some of these football games. Cause that's the football person in me. Let's do it in the other months. I know it's almost half the year now, but let's do it in the other months. Not a fan of a football season wedding. So that's the one, that's the hill I'll die on, I guess. Even though I understand the limitations of a calendar.
Yeah, I agree with you on that take. I'm bravely saying so, right? As the
I
daughter,
feel vindicated right now.
As the daughter of a mother, I'm bravely also standing on that hill. I agree with you 100%. It takes me back to one of my really, really good friends got married and did so in like the deep spring, which I really appreciated. And I was a beat writer at the time in like the early days where I was like the number 2 in a beat tandem. And so basically whatever you're told to do, you do, like, and it doesn't really, matter when and where. And I had a great beat partner, shout out Joe Person there in Charlotte. And we were working on a story about a coach getting fired, an assistant coach getting fired. And there was like some layers to it. And I remember during the rehearsal, I was in the wedding, and during the rehearsal, first of all, the bride could not have been cooler about the entire situation. And then when I was standing there, I'm having to type notes to my editor on my phone. And so one of the other members of the wedding party, of course, with the blessing of the bride, gave me a second bouquet to hold so that I could hide my phone behind it. It was so rad. I will never forget it. It's like you'd never want to be the selfish person in any space like that. There's some things you just can't help. It's something I'll never forget. But then also I'm with you on that. It's something where, football season for people who work in football, it is an all-consuming, in a good way, an all-consuming thing. So I think that's a fair compromise, Shook, to be able to bring your phones and your charger. I did think about that Cape Verde game and how it was equalized, and everybody in the final moments of that match were not able to actually see it because they all had to have their phones put away at Madison Square Garden. That did strike my mind that all these people are missing one of the best sporting events that we've seen. And then I'm like, well, they're going to the wedding of the American century, essentially. So I guess maybe you don't mind as much probably when you're in that situation.
I think you walk into that knowing that you're going to miss something. And we all miss things for one reason or another. Like I was at the Guardians game when that happened, but luckily some friend I'd made next to me in the standing section where I often inhabit during these games, he had it on his phone. So I was just like dual viewing, screen down here, baseball game live in front of me. Those people were not as fortunate, but again, you just walk into those things knowing, hey, I'm going to miss something and I'll have to catch up on it later, especially for an event like that. But yeah, it's I don't think I have a lot of other etiquette things on the top of mind. Like I'm a willing wedding participant. I'll do
Yeah.
whatever I need to do in the wedding party. But I will say this. We don't need 3.5 hours of photos. Okay. And especially not in January. I was in one of my good friends' weddings. It was early January in Pittsburgh. And I'm like bald in a suit, or, the one that I had to get as part of the wedding party.
Just standing there being
great.
bald.
My ears are cold. The top of my head's cold. It's like 34 degrees. And we're just standing outside waiting for them to take a billion different photos. So we don't need 3.5 photos. Let's cut it down to, I don't know, 2 hours. How about that?
I do have one. And again, as the daughter of a mother, I think I'm able to fairly say this. My friend Mary Kate got married several years ago. A shout out to Mary Kate and Carter, one of my best friends. And she picked a color palette for the bridesmaids' dresses. I was in the wedding as a bridesmaid. She picked a color palette and basically said, do your thing, just stick to this color palette, which at the time when I was deciding like what rooms in my house to heat, because I was so broke as an early term beat writer that I was like, it was so clutch to have her say like, just stick to this color palette and do whatever you need to do, like to get, to whatever your style is, whatever you feel like, however you feel would your best in, like all of that. And then we just had a house party afterward and went to Filiberto's, which was super, super rad. So shout out to Mary Kate. I thought that was a nice little point of etiquette. Like you, I'm a willing wedding guest participant. I'm willing to do whatever it takes within reason. I do think it's nice when the wedding couple or the betrothed couple throws you a bone like that. It's like,
yes, of course.
It's like pretty solid.
Yeah, so. I have one more.
Yeah,
here. This just came top of mind because this just happened a few weeks ago. I went to a wedding in South Carolina for some good friends of mine, and it was nice. It was at a resort, Isle of Palms, and they had the top floor of this building rented out for the reception. And for the wedding, they did it on the overlook of the ocean. Everything else was beautiful, and everything they did, all the details. Whether it was like the finger foods that you could eat before, like during cocktail hour, the meal itself. They had late night food, which was awesome. I didn't get any of it because this is where it went south. Don't allow guests to take the top floor of your resort for a wedding reception and then kowtow to the guests that are staying on the floors below when they complain and call the police that you're being too loud above them.
Oh,
and they come up and cut off your reception 40 minutes early, and that late night food that they put out on all these big, buffet trays disappears after 10 minutes because they're trying to shut down the reception early. If you booked it till 11, run it till 11 and deal with the consequences. You already got paid. That's my last one.
Yeah, and I would stand on that hill too. The hotel should have made some other sort of amends with the other guests if they thought it was going to be a problem.
They got bad reviews. People were not happy with it. It was a great weekend otherwise, but they got smoked on Google reviews. And and I have one more. Stop playing Bruno Mars through half the wedding. That's all I have to say. Stop it. We need better music. Better music exists. Stop doing it. I'm tired of it. Stop. That's it.
Well, you had more. You had more than takes than we expected. Came in wondering.
Flying off the top of the bald dome.
Off the dome. Hopefully you've warmed back up after that traumatizing time that you spent in Pittsburgh. So we wanted to make sure that we paid a little tribute to our buddy Gregg, our fearless leader, enjoying some really, really well-deserved vacation after season 2 of NFL Daily. He's in Japan with his family, probably reading like 1 million books as well. And we know he's on vacation, Shook, but I don't think he's turned the football part of his brain off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I refuse to believe that Gregg Rosenthal is not thinking about football or stuff related to football on a daily, hourly, minutely even basis while he's in Japan. And so for that reason, I suggested that maybe we do a segment that I like to call Gregg Rosenthal's Inner Vacation Monologue. Shook, would you like to kick us off on this one?
Yes. And I can confirm that his ear is still to the ground because he sent me. So there was a bit of local news that sent shockwaves through Cleveland a couple of weeks ago. It was the announced closure of the Heinen's grocery store, the one that attracts all the internet attention because it's in an old bank building with like this majestic ceiling. It's like the most beautiful grocery store in America, right? And they announced they're closing at the end of July. Gregg gets word of this in Japan and texts me the link to it. And because he's trying to get me to, out to LA, he's like, well, now you have to move because they closed down the best grocery store in Cleveland. Like, this is obviously a sign that you have to move. And I'm thinking, what are you doing paying attention to this, of all things, while you're in Japan? And it's just because he doesn't turn it off. And he definitely doesn't turn it off
the guy
in
is
the football
nuts.
world. The guy's nuts. So between all the baseball games he's attended, the time that he spent in the beautiful nature out there, the books, like you mentioned, that he's devoured, I think his mind has likely wandered in a few different directions. And I'll start here.
Please.
This attracted a little bit of debate. I think most people were in agreement online with this. The top 100. It's an annual tradition in which players are ranked, according to their peers. And some people don't understand that ranking is assembled basically throughout the season. They do these interviews throughout the season. So it doesn't quite reflect the final results of the most recent season as much as like a general reputation during and before. Jeffrey Simmons ranked 83rd on the top 100. Gregg's inner monologue says Jeffrey Simmons is definitely better than 83 in the top 100. I wonder if they'll ever interview me for the top 100. Another one. Another news item in this slow news period. I actually wrote this. So thanks, Gregg, for reading this, which you may or may not have done, but I'm going to say that you did. DeAndre Hopkins won't force his way onto a team, but I'd take him. Can we make some room on the Patriots roster? Nah, I can't part with my favorite, Kyle Williams. Can't part with Efton Chisholm. Maybe the Rams? Yeah, I'm gonna sell it to Ellis over dinner. We'll have a talk about it.
Yes, I especially like your NFL 100 one because it is reduced to players voting for players, but of course, Gregg Rosenthal, who crowned himself an off-season winner in the off-season winners and losers segment of NFL Daily a few weeks ago, of course, would try to consider how he could get in on that action a little bit. And I appreciate that. And I honestly, I could see it. I could see DeAndre Hopkins in New England. I'm just saying, I could see it.
He's always looking. He's always looking for another option there. And actually, that leads me to another one that I thought he probably hit at one point, whether he was just like strolling through, the grassy areas, just taking in the views or whatever it was. How long will it take me to fully surrender to the Drake May and AJ Brown partnership? And how quickly might I hyperbolically push it beyond the status of Tom Brady and Randy Moss? Oh, let me do it, Gregg. Here's another one. Well, if I'm Jason Light, I'm not paying Baker Mayfield right now either. Then again, I'd rather probably be in Atlanta's chair than Tampa's because at least they have Bijan Robinson. No, wait. That's Kevin Stefanski's team. Nah, never mind.
And don't get him started on Zach Taylor. I love this. I especially appreciated your I think that was next, I think we have one from the great Patrick Claybon, who is calling in today to the show.
Here I am navigating the confluence of culture on vacation, yet I have to once again square my relationship with the Boston Celtics, all while definitely avoiding the podcast franchise that bears my name. Wait a second. Is Patrick referring to a famous television personality with an incorrect name? This is why the show requires my constant supervision, much like a beloved basketball franchise facing what seems like an inevitable power creep of pirate equity. Wait a second. Did I say pirate equity? I meant private equity. Wow, there's a lot of thoughts inside my head. I must share them with the listeners. No, this is my time. This is my vacation. But if I don't get these thoughts out, where do I go? Who do I become? I'm Gregg Rosenthal, a man of culture, a loving father and husband. But what of the deep-rooted desire to contextualize the reality that we all face? I miss it. I miss you, listeners.
As much as he's going to miss Jaylen Brown. Oh.
Oh. Okay, I want to say I did not intend for this to turn into a very loving roast of Gregg Rosenthal.
It's always going to be.
I just love it so much. Oh, Patrick coming through in the clutch like Jaylen Brown no longer will do for the Boston Celtics. You hate to see it.
Yeah. You hate to see it indeed. I think that's probably the best place to end it right there. Fantastic contribution from Patrick from afar. Oh,
yes.
That's wonderful.
I'm going to make you guess what mine is as we close the show here, Shook, because it might take you in a strange direction at first, but just trust the process here because it will all become very clear to you. Now, I want to say this is running on repeat in Gregg's head over and over and over and over and over and over again. Here it is. Step 1, brown a stick of butter in a pan. Step 2, take the butter off the heat and add another half of a stick of cold butter and let that melt into the other butter. Step 3, mix your dry ingredients, 2 cups of flour, half a teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of baking soda. Step 4, add 1 cup of granulated sugar and 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar to your stand mixer bowl, then add the melted butter and mix until combined. Add 1 egg plus 1 egg yolk to the wet mixture until just combined. Add 1 teaspoon of vanilla to your wet mixture, combine. Mix in your dry ingredients, 1/2 portion at a time. Add in your preferred brand of chocolate chips. Refrigerate the dough for a few hours, then ball the dough and portion into your preferred sizes. Bake at 350 degrees for 10 minutes and enjoy.
It's very obviously chocolate chip cookies, but what is...
No, it's not just any chocolate chip cookies, Shook. It's Ann Michael May's brown butter chocolate chip cookie recipe from TikTok, the wife of Patriots quarterback, Drake May.
Oh my God, and now he's wondering how will I ever top that? So I'm thinking that as soon as he gets back, they're immediately going to the kitchen to make these because these were probably just released during his vacation.
Well, they were a featured staple of Bakemas, the famous Ann Michael May content release of all of those delicious looking recipes that she had featured this season. So I don't know if Gregg's had a chance to make them. I just think that, when you're on vacation, your brain starts to think of all the things that you should have done or could have done during the previous year that you really want to make some time for in the coming year. And so I think that this is just on repeat in Gregg's head and filling the space and the void left by the New England Patriots performance in the Super Bowl. So I think that is where we can close today's show.
Yeah. I'm going to say that, look, much like my attempt to learn piano last offseason, I'm sure that Gregg will never finish it, but it's always going to be in the back of his mind as something he'd like to do.
We miss you, buddy. That's our show today. Listeners, thank you so much for tuning back in with us. We'll have a couple more shows this week. I am your fill-in host. If you have any mean comments for me, please do not share them because they will emotionally cripple me. Thank you for listening to this episode of NFL Daily. For Nick Shook, I'm Jourdan Rodrigue. Catch you later this week.